It is a historic and monumental moment in the history of television. The Walt Disney Company has been bounced from their #1 spot as the leader of distributed content. What does that mean? Well, the stuff that you see on your TV, the majority has come from Disney in the past. At least they've been the leader. But the history that has been made is that now that content instead comes from you. For the leader now is YouTube. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel that is changing hearts and minds simply by telling the truth. Keeping you ahead of the culture curve is something we do by explaining entertainment and helping you know what the headlines will be in the next few days once the journalists have gotten around to watching the content right here. Folks, you can help us send this out across the fruited plains by clicking the like button, and we are part of the biggest broadcasting network now, YouTube, bigger than Disney. It is a big deal. We'll explain it with the panel right now. No, I'm saying let's go, Jonas. Let's go. The news is here, and we must not impede it. Folks, this is from Mac, who we hope is out in the audience right now, at Now It's Known over on X. Unless you're in Brazil, in which case, well, sorry, you're going back to the Stone Age. But anyway, July 24th, Nielsen monthly TV viewing by distributor. This is a very, very big deal. Despite Disney's ownership of numerous media outlets, YouTube surpassed Disney as the most viewed TV distributor. Now, the fascinating thing about this, Jonas, is that this was essentially created, we believe, by Nielsen in order to fix the problem that Disney was having. Because Disney, as one of the biggest kids on the block, they were really struggling with the idea that Nielsen continued to show that they were being decimated by Netflix and, by the way, by everyone else. And so that didn't look good. And oh, by the way, guess what else didn't look good? It did not look good for Disney Plus to be cannibalizing Hulu in a separate metric, and Tubi, the little streaming app from Fox, taking Disney out of the top 5 of streaming platforms. So all of these things that Nielsen was doing, or well, everything they had, made Disney look bad. And Disney was sad about that. And so, well, we had this new metric that was released about 2 months ago. And in this, Nielsen had decided they were going to show, of all the content that ever appears on any screen out there, how much of it is made by a company, no matter where it goes. So, for example, if something is made by Disney and you watch it on YouTube, it gets counted for Disney. And this was supposed to be the metric that would make it appear like, well, Disney's just doing great. And since Disney owns all these things, including ESPN and ABC and et cetera, it would all add up to make Disney look like a very wonderful company that's doing quite well. Well, it took about 2 months, and YouTube has now surpassed Disney in terms of all of the media that people consume across North America. One of the interesting things about this is that for all the faults and all the flaws of YouTube and of the alphabet that owns it, it is fascinating to me that YouTube is essentially a democratized platform that gives everyone access to the ability to create content in an easy way and then put it out there, and then to whatever degree is possible, that is then rank ordered by meritocracy of who wants to click on those videos and view them. And then that promulgates the best up to the top and the least down to the bottom. We can debate about whether or not Mr. Beast should be given the kind of viewership he is. Whatever the case might be there, the reality is that content creators that manage to get people to click on their videos and then show them something good get rewarded. And so you can always tinker with that system. And sure, there have been issues with censorship and all of that. But if you were to look at this from the aerial view, all of the other companies, Disney, Fox, Netflix, they're all gatekeepers who select and choose the partners they want to have with them, right? So Disney chooses Kathleen Kennedy. They choose Kevin Feige. They choose Pete Docter. They choose who's going to make their stuff, and they work through all that. YouTube, on the other hand, is a fully democratized system where anybody, Jane and Joe, Juan and Mercedes at their garage, they can put out whatever they want to put out, and it goes out, and then people decide whether or not it's good. That system seems to be working fundamentally better than all of these other systems that exist out there. YouTube, one of the cool things, and I want to hand it to the panel and get thoughts on this. One of the cool things about YouTube is that imagine how much Disney spends on things like The Acolyte, and then compare that to how much YouTube spent on shows and channels such as this that analyzed The Acolyte. And by the way, I believe, Jonas, and perhaps this is part of this story, because guess what? The Acolyte was in full force in July. I believe that YouTube outperformed The Acolyte in coverage of The Acolyte. In other words, I believe that if you were to combine Star Wars Theory, Nerdrotic, Geeks and Gamers, all of these channels, If you were to combine Pro and Valiant and everybody else, Yellow Flash included, we could keep going, but we'll leave people out on accident. If you were to combine all of them together, I think the coverage of the Acolyte surpassed the actual viewership of the Acolyte. People were having more fun mocking the thing than actually watching the thing. And that's what drives the wokies mad. And that is why YouTube did not spend a single dime on it and yet made bank on it, while Disney spent 200 million plus. Throw out that 180, that's crazy. 200 million plus, and wound up with nothing but dust in terms of that franchise going forward. Open it up to the panel. Please share with me your thoughts on this concept that YouTube is now taking Disney and yet again knocked it out of the slot that it coveted for so long.
Well, I mean, I personally think that this is, I think somebody, Industrial Space said in the chat's power to the people. It is a mass rejection of Hollywood in that people don't want things that are developed by the machine. They want things that are developed by their friends and neighbors, their peers. They want authentic content. And I think that's what you get on YouTube. And I think that's why people are really taking more to YouTube content than something that was developed by, an AI algorithm and a diversity checkbox. We're looking toward content developed by the people for the people, if I can borrow a phrase.
Well, it kind of also comes down to, and from my opinion, and just talking to the people, it kind of comes down to creativity and passion. You have a lot of fan films made on YouTube that get millions of views by people who, if I might, and in industry terms, are nothing. They're nobodies. Of course, everybody's a somebody, but they're nobodies in the industry. And then you have all of these other corporate. We know that they're just in it for the money. They're using our favorite franchises for the money. They're incorporating commercials into streaming services, where was the reason we got rid of cable. And so everything just points to money. I heard someone say, love may make the world go round, but it's money that greases the wheel. And so I think people are more enjoying YouTube because it is made by people who might not have the production value. They might not have the budget for things. They might not even have the best actors, but there are people who are trying because they are passionate about what they love and what equals also love. So we can watch something and be like, well, that was a little corny, but man, the rest of it was really good. And you give them grace because they're not a big corporation, right? Because they don't have the money, but they're trying, and we love you can sense it. You can see the passion and the enthusiasm, the attempt to try to appease not only the passion within ourselves, but being true to lore, continuity, and things like that. So I think that's one of the reasons, a really big reason, why a lot of these companies are failing. They might have numbers, but like you said, a lot of it's for hate views because there's just nobody's interested in what they're making anymore. It's very rare that there's a movie coming out where everybody's like, that looks really good.
Those are all fabulous points. And, I think about this. If you were to add in Rumble and X and some of the other platforms that have the people across this wonderful country and beyond creating content, this would actually get even more significant in terms of the defeat that's coming to the corporations. To me, this looks like that the town square is coming together to win over against the elites on the coast. Kara, you are, of course, always working at Rippaverse to bring independent and strong entertainment to the masses, and that has gone exceedingly well. How do you think this is playing out as the corporations are now losing to people all across the Fruited Plains?
Ooh. I mean, people are drawn to authenticity, I think, is the number one thing. Authenticity and transparency is what people gravitate to. I mean, that's why people watch shows like this. It's because it's a organic conversation where we're typically not trying to force opinions on something or points of views on something, but obviously we're all going to have different opinions on things, but it's your own organic and authentic opinion, and people like that. I mean, there's so many shows that I've watched on Hulu lately, and I mean, I got rid of Disney Plus quite a while ago, and I haven't signed back up for it.
You haven't missed anything.
It's just there was a show that I started watching called like The Prodigal Son, and it was really good. The first season was really good, and then you can tell that they started to go more into like a political bias, and that completely just pushed me away. It doesn't matter how good the show was. As soon as they started inserting those viewpoints, it just kind of turned me off. I was like, I'll go watch something else. And you see that a lot more. And so I think with more YouTube is just there's a little bit for everybody, I think is the good thing about YouTube, is even if like I'm trying to think of like, sorry, I've had a headache all day, and so my thought process hasn't been like the greatest.
Let me see if I can hop to where I think you're going, and then you tell me if I've got it right. Anybody can get on YouTube and search for a topic that interests them, and they will be entered into then an ecosystem of individuals who share that interest, who are creating content around that, and then that introduces them to these people, and then that facilitates them finding other people who are of like mind, and so you have all of these hobbies and interests garnering massive support through YouTube. Or, by the way, if it's Star Wars or Star Trek or other franchises that have been decimated, then you find people who are critical, but that may speak to those people out there who understand that they've been wronged. Fair?
Yeah. I think that's pretty spot on.
I think that the Rippaverse is the ultimate example of this phenomenon at work, because you look at the way the comics industry is dying on the mainstream. Marvel and DC, you talk to shop owners, they can barely stay open anymore. But then the Rippaverse comes along, and people are lining up to support it with these amazing crowdfunding campaigns. And when you read, like, I love ISOM, like I'm reading ISOM right now, and you can feel the passion in every page, and it's something you don't get from from the homogenized main two Marvel and DC anymore, and you're seeing that on YouTube as well.
And like that's the thing, that like we are very specifically like tailoring the Rippaverse universe to appeal to everybody. Like there's no hidden messages in there. It's good and evil for the most part, and of course there's like just having your own virtues and just trying to be a good person and fight for what's right. And I think that's what a lot of old content or like older shows really used to be geared towards, was that anybody from any background, it's a common cause. Everybody can relate to it.
For
and
sure.
So you see more and more nowadays, or they're kind of not dancing around the politics anymore, and they're definitely making it more geared towards a singular direction instead of making content that can appeal to everybody. And I think that's one thing with YouTube, is you see a lot of creators that are trying to go back to that, to being appealing to everybody from every standpoint.
Right, because nobody's telling stories about universal concepts anymore. It's all about what you can see. Oh, I have to see myself in this character's face instead of see myself in their actions, see myself in things like heroism, things like leadership, things like friendship and family. These are universal concepts that we used to tell stories about that we don't anymore. And you're seeing it in things like Rippaverse, things like YouTube. And I think that's what people are gravitating toward.
Well, it's also because we've blurred the lines between good and evil. So that, I think, is one thing that has caused a huge distraction and dysfunction in entertainment, is because we now have a very different worldwide, but I'm just speaking like on American behalf, we have a very different viewpoint of what is evil and what is good. And a lot of good people, if you will, like in our entertainment, typically have traditional standards, traditional morals, old-fashioned, however you want to word that, whereas today's society question everything, which is not necessarily a bad thing. You don't want to be led astray by stuff, but for the sake of stories, and again, most stories are told really for entertainment, and there was a moral compass to it somewhere. So when you've blurred the lines between that, and everything is right, everything is wrong, hate everything that doesn't agree with you, it makes for bad entertainment, because it's like, I don't know where this story is going.
Folks, we've come to the end, but oh, what a joy it has been to have time with you, an attitude of gratitude. Every time you click one of these videos, we have for you. Folks, if you would be so kind, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. Drop a comment right on down below. Let us know your thoughts. And folks, we'll see you real soon. Remember, 3 videos a day, because thrice is nice, right here on the Pro Channel. Until the next time we meet, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.